lovely people out there. It's 2019 and I believe you guys are really having a good time as well as a tough time because you need to prepare for your board exams. You need to prove yourself to your relatives, to your parents, right in front of your friends. So I know how the feeling is. I've also gone through the same phase. Everybody goes through the same phase. So everything is going to be okay. So what we guys are here for, I, Arshpreet, on behalf of Vedantu team, we guys are going to help you make your life really easy when it comes to board exams or it comes to JEE preparation. It's going to be all very, very easy for you guys. So for that, you have to watch this video if you tend to increase your score. If you are interested in working on, listening to all the tricks and tips that would help you improve your score. So for that, you have to stay tuned. And yes, I have an important announcement to make. In this lecture, that's a surprise for you guys. So for that, you have to stay tuned and keep watching the video for long so that you guys get to know what am I talking about. And trust me, that's going to be a big, big, big surprise for all of you. Okay. So let's talk about how you guys can score 95% in English board exams. Okay. So it's often said that, books, like you guys nowadays, surrounded by books, you might be having a tough time, not able to play PUBG, Clash of Clans, Instagram, Snapchat, whatnot. Like it's like on your cards, like you feel that, okay, once we are over with this last social studies exam for the board date sheet, if you follow that, we're going to do all this. You have to-do list, right? You have all that you've planned for. But trust me, if you follow these easy tricks, you do not, you won't have to go through that phase where you face a lot of issues, where you face a lot of problems, where it gets really hard, right? So let's say what I have for you. So it's always said that some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. It's like if you have a book with 400 pages, you have to grab only the important facts. Of course, it's like the chances are very less that you guys are going to remember all the 400 pages or everything that's written there. So it's important to chew and digest all the important facts so that you can rephrase them and then write it down on the answer sheet for the examiner to check, right? Okay. So talking about English, so English has the question paper of English. If I talk about the question paper, it has 3 sections, right? The section 1 is the reading section. That's of course very time consuming. Section B, if I talk about section B, it's about the writing section and it requires lot of thought process. Like you have to go on for that brainstorming exercise, I would say, when it comes to section B, that's the writing section. And section C is the section that most people prefer to attempt towards the end, right? It's about the literature section, right? That the section that you're most familiar with. I would say these 2 sections still tend to be sort of unpredictable. You're not sure where the question might come out from. But yes, as far as section C is, like most of the people are very confident because they've already gone through the contents of the literature part, the chapters, the poems, the novels, the fictions, everything you guys have already covered once and probably you know the story. So it becomes easy to write the answer. That's the easiest chapter, I would say, the section that you guys, plan to attempt. So let me tell you, I'm going to tell you a few points about class 12th also. So if I have a pyramid and I have to divide the question paper into different sections, this is going to be section A. That's the reading section. This is going to be section B. That's going to be the writing section. And this is going to be section C. That's going to be the literature section. Right? So, of course, like I said, section A is unpredictable, right? You can't predict this. It is very lengthy also, right? So most of the people get really confused which section to go first. So I would suggest because I've seen a lot of people, I've seen a lot of students heard their stories. So what we suggest you is that when it comes to section A, please attempt section A first because it's the lengthiest section that you have, right? So what you can do is there's an unseen passage that you guys get. And we tend to make a lot of mistakes when we, try to attempt this unseen passage, right? So I'm going to give you 3 important tricks that's going to make your life really easy when it comes to unseen passage, right? So you have to keep in mind all those 3 important tips that I'm going to share you when it comes to tips for section A. That's the reading section. So I'm going to tell you those tricks that you have to keep in mind. Okay. So read the question. See, you've been given unseen passage, right, or a comprehension. So before you straight away jump into reading that comprehension, start reading that comprehension, and then go back to check the question answers, and then look back into the passage, to look for the answers. You try to hunt for the answers. So it's important, rather than doing this exercise like here, then here, and again back answering the question, it's important to first jump into reading the comprehension won't help you, right? So it's important to read the questions before you read the passage, right? So it will save a lot of time. You don't have to jiggle from one side to the other and then bounce back. So it's important that you first read the question answers. You've got a fair knowledge of what they're looking for, what answers they're expecting, right? And then you jump back to the passage, right? This way you're going to get the idea. And what you can do is, when you're reading the questions, you can underline the important things that you're going to look for into the passage to answer that particular question, right? So underline the important things that they've been asking for, right? And then you can go back and read the passage. This way you're going to come to know that what synonyms and antonyms they're looking for, what questions they're looking for. So it's like going from the question back end towards the passage. That will help you save a lot of time, right? And many people do not follow this, and they tend to waste a lot of time on this lengthy and unpredictable section. Second tip that I'm going to suggest is, since you guys do not have a lot of time, you have to cover number of subjects, go through the contents of each and every subject, which I understand is a very tough job, right? So what you can do is, you can practice at least 1 or 2 reading comprehension every day. I'm not saying every day you start it from today itself. What you can do is, you can just practice it so that your brain gets tuned to answering question, or to answer questions that probably might crop up in the exam hall, right? So you, in order to tune or tame your mind to work and function accordingly, what you can do is, you can practice 1 or 2 reading comprehensions every day, but just 10 days prior to your exam. It's not like every day I've been asking you to I'll be consuming your 1 month, or taking away 1 month preparation. You won't be able to devote time to different subjects. No, I'm not looking for that. I'm just asking you to spare 10 days period, right, prior to your exam. And when it comes to class 12th, right, this point is related to class 12th. Practice the previous year questions, since you have a note making and a summary writing section. So what you guys can do is practice the previous year questions on note making and summary writing. This way you're going to have a better I would say you'll get an opportunity to score really well. Okay, so let's see what I was talking about. Let me demonstrate it, right? So let's say we talk about reading comprehension, or you can say unseen passage. Let's talk about. So we talk that you have to read the title, read the question, circle them, underline the important words in the question, right? And it's also important, guys, that you number the paragraph. At times what happens is, they ask you to look for a particular word in a given paragraph. So the minute you get your question paper, before jumping onto that reading part, it's important that you number your paragraphs, right? And then jump onto the question section, circle the important points, and then underline important things that you probably feel would be the correct answer to that question in the question paper or in the paragraph, right? Now read it very carefully, read carefully the passage, read it really carefully. I would say you can't eliminate the wrong answers unless and until it's a fill in the blank that they've asked for, right? You have to select the best answer because now you know the question very well. It's gonna be tricky also at times, but you have to select the best answer. Let's try what I'm talking about. Okay, let's say I won't have time to cover the entire paragraph, but I'll just demonstrate how you can do it. For example, I'm giving you 3 minutes to read this. I've already numbered the paragraph and the title is How My Life Changed Its Course. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to read these three paragraphs. Quick, let's get started. You're going to read it, then we're going to jump on the question set, and then we're going to come back and look for the answers. Let me see how quick you guys can be. Your 3 minutes starts right now. Okay, I can see many of you reading it. Good. 2 minutes to go. Okay, many of you done reading. Okay, last 1 minute, guys, because then I want to jump onto the question set. Okay, so let's get started with the question answers. Here I have the complete paragraphs, like this complete passage, right? Okay, so you're gonna try the first, let's say, two questions. You can try these first two questions. First, read the questions, and then I want to jump back onto the set of that passage, right? Read these two questions. The writer believed that she was stupid. That's the first question. You have to give reasons, right? She was stupid. You could have underlined this, right? And the writer flinched as she saw her friend, right? She flinched as she saw her friend walking towards her. This is what you have to look for in the passage. Here you go. Now tell me what's the answer to the first question. Okay. See, now you have to eliminate so many options that are right there, right in front of you. You have to eliminate the options and choose the right one. Right? Okay. And what about the second question? The writer flinched as she saw her friend walking towards her. Okay, so now the answer, if I talk about the answers to these questions, is because she thought she was, I would say, the writer believed that she was stupid. The answer to this is because she could not concentrate on studies. And the second question is the writer flinched as she saw her friend walking towards her because she did not want to talk to her, right? These are the two correct answers. Now, what I have done here is I've just written the answers, right? So I've just written the answer. You're not going to do it this way. You're going to completely, you're going to frame a complete sentence and then put your thoughts across. Like whatever option you feel is the right one, then you have to write the complete answer. Please do not jump into shortcuts like I've done. This is a big no-no. right? And I just told you what you can do is, for example, you can number your paragraph. For example, there's this question that has been asked, the 2 mark question. Make a sudden movement as a result of pain, fear, surprise. You have to look for that word in paragraph number 3, right? So if you're aware that's flinch, that means to move suddenly, right? In surprise, for example, the minute you guys see your teacher, all right, any teacher who's very strict, right, you just flinch, I would say, right? In seconds you flinch, right, like anything. So that is what the writer did. She flinched when she saw her friend coming towards her or walking towards her. So that's the word that we're looking in paragraph 3. So it's important to, number the paragraph. Now let's go the second way out that we told, that I just shared. For example, you guys are pretty much aware of what the question is looking for, what answer we're supposed to give. So I'm going to be giving you 2 minutes right here, right? Let's start with this section, these 2 questions, and we're going to go way back, right? So this 2 questions, you're going to answer it. First, you're going to read the question, right? The writer lacked interest in her studies, and the writer was not very confident or assertive girl. Now I'm going to go back into the passage, and then you're going to check. I hope you've read it. So the very first thing that I'm going to look for is she lacked interest in her studies, and second one, not confident. So these two, now going back to the passage, giving you 2 minutes each. Now let's me see if it's going to be quick or not. I'm going to put you, make you go through the entire passage now. 2 minutes for this page. Okay. 1 minute to go. Okay, 2 minutes for this page. For the second question, I want to take you back to the question. That's the questions. Here you go. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, jumping on to the last slide. Okay, I believe you're gonna get this answer right on this page itself. Okay, now let's jump on to the answer. Let me see how many of you could find answers like that. So the answer to this question, that C part, is the writer lacked interest in her studies. The answer, that if you found the answer, because she did not perform well, that is why she lacked interest in her studies. So it didn't take you long, right? And the answer to the second question, the writer was not a very confident or an assertive girl, because again, she was not good at studies. So you can see how easy it was. Rather than going from the passage to the question answers, please prefer to read the question set first, and then jump back into the answer to look for the answers, right? Okay. Now, talking about section B, that's the writing and the grammar section, right? The first tip that I want to share is please revise the formats, right? It's important to revise the formats, thrice, at least 3 times before appearing for the exam. For example, tomorrow you have your exams. It's important you go through every writing format, the basic format, right? At least 3 times, right? I don't want you or expect you to write the contents also, but at least you can revise the format, right? Second important thing is what happens is we tend to make a lot of mistakes in the content part. That's the basic part that we have to struggle a lot on, right? So what you can do is an easy thing that you can remember is maybe a letter writing, maybe summary, right? You can have a good conclusion, right? You can conclude it. For example, you can remember the beginnings and endings to everything. This way it won't be, it's like very little content that you're going to add on, right? It's like you have the starting part with you, you have the ending part with you, the beginning and the ending is right there. It's just small part that's going to vary from every topic to topic. Like it's going to vary from topic to topic. For example, you're going to pick out any topic, like write a letter to the let's say to your friend, that's going to vary. Write a letter to your principal, that's going to vary. Or maybe the information commissioner or something of that sort. If it comes your way, of course you know the format, you're going to get marks for that. If you know the starting or beginning and you know the end, that's this part that you have to work on. So this is important thing that you can do, right? If you really weaken it. Third important tip is that we tend to make a lot of mistakes is please keep in mind the word limit. It's very important that you keep in mind the word limit and stick to the word limit, right? Don't exceed the word limit, right? And what I've seen is, for example, for 12th class, it's important, let me tell you this, divide and conquer the essay writing, articles, debates, speech. When I say divide and conquer, it means just don't, put the facts right there. It's important to sequence them in a logical manner. For example, it may be a short notice, it may be a notice question, it may be an article, it may be writing section, anything. The first paragraph that you have to follow is going to be about the introduction, right? That's how you divide. The second one is going to have certain details in it. The third one is going to have all the positive points. The next paragraph is going to have all the negative points. Then the last paragraph is where you're gonna conclude, you're gonna give a good conclusion. So conclusion and introduction. This is very, very important, right? You have to conclude it in a good way, right? Summarize all the best points from this paragraph and conclude it, right? So you have to give introduction, you have to give details, you have to give positive, you have to give negative point, and finally it's gonna be conclusion. Now, what happens is all of a sudden you get so sentimental about not wasting the sheet and doing stuff like that. For example, if you have this sheet and you somewhere start and put a heading that you're going to attempt, let's say section A first, right? And you tend to complete this section here till here, right? Then of course you're going to put the heading that okay, I'm going to start with section B right here, right? Because there's very less space that's available. You're going to start your essay writing or maybe a letter part right here, right? If you're left with, let's say, 3 to 5 lines, right? Please avoid doing that. Take a fresh page and then jump onto it, right? So if you're left with very less space, don't start the fresh section from there in. Take a fresh page, right? And then put the heading that you're going to start your section B right here. Write the question number, right? That should be clear. And then start with your answer, right? Please don't utilize if you're left with 3 to 5 lines. Just 3 to 5 lines, that won't make any sense. What I mean to say is, for For example, you have to write a letter, so it should be pretty clear for the teacher to know that you have followed a particular format, right? Second important thing is, I'm not saying that every section you should start from a fresh page, but at least try if you're not left with enough space. Please make sure that you give proper space after every answer that you attempt. So proper space is very important. Leave a line to make the paper look more, neat, right? To make it look more presentable. Second, if you are attempting section A, make sure you attempt all the questions in one go. Don't mix section A questions into section B. That's gonna annoy the teacher, right? Don't make section C questions into section C. Again, she's gonna get irritated. So we are not gonna give her or him any opportunity to get irritated. So if you've started with section A, try to cover all the set of questions that are there in section A. If you've started with section B, try to cover all the sections given in that section, right? Okay. Third important part is, I would say, guys, it's very important when I talk about this. It's very important for you to follow time. For example, let me talk about time management later. For example, I've given a good examples. If you're attempting section, answer A, these are all the points that are pretty clear, right? You've given proper spacing. I don't expect you to give space after every point that you write. Of course, they can be clubbed together. You don't have to leave that line. But in any case, make sure at least you don't, if you cannot draw a line, at least you can leave this line, right? So that the teacher comes to know that you've started one question, you've covered it, you've completed it, you've started another question, and then you've covered it. This way, it's going to make things really clear up in the teacher's head, right? Third important thing, this is how your paper should look like. It's very important to give that good presentation to your question answer sheet, right? So what you can do is, at times what I suggest is, for example, you've written your answer here and you feel there are sub parts associated with it. Either you can draw a line right like this and then mention the sub part to make your paper look really presentable, right? Either you can draw a margin and then write all the sub parts right like this, or if you don't wish to waste your time drawing that margin, what you can do is at least mention the subparts that should be pretty clear to the teacher. She should be able to see that you've mentioned the part, and which part is she gonna mark for. So that's very important for you to make things easy, to make her life easy, right? So that you get the credit for the same. So this paper looks way too neat, right? Because of course there has been proper spacing, right? Proper margin has been followed and legible handwriting has been done. Paper has been attempted in a manner that you're really willing to sit for the exam and score well. Rather than just going there and pushing yourself to sit for the exam, to clear your board exam. No, it should look like you've really invested some time. Third important stuff that I want to tell you, for example, what I've seen is, if you guys make a mistake, for example, it's written off here, right? Important lesson of life survival. So what if you've made a mistake, what you tend to do is you tend to put it like this, color it all, right? So rather than doing that and bringing it to the limelight, or maybe bringing it to her notice, what you guys can do is just put a straight line so that it goes, she does not notice that, right? And just put a straight line and then write whatever content you feel is important, or whatever relevant content you feel you're supposed to write. Just do that, right? This way you're not going to mess up your answer sheet. So please guys, if you've made a mistake, try avoid doing this, right? This looks really bad. On this sheet of paper, if I would have done like this for like 5 times, that's going to annoy the teacher, however presentable, however neat, however good the contents may be, but that's going to really annoy your teacher, right? So as I told you, see the word limit and the marks while you write your answer, right? And be careful that you do not mix between the section. As I said, if you're attempting section A, please attempt it and then jump on to the next section. I have few tricks that you can follow when it comes to section C, right? So what you can do is, when it comes to, these are all the examples of the answer sheets that I've put right in front of you, to make sure that you write your answers in this manner. You make your presentation or your answer sheet look like this, because it's going to be more presentable anyway. It's going to look more presentable, like you've put in a lot of effort, right? Now coming to section C, if I talk about section C, you have to think, right? In this section you have to think, but I would say in section C you have to think less, right? So less of thinking is required. So you have to read before you sit for the exam. Please ensure that you read all the chapters, right? Read all the chapters at least once, if not 2 or 3 times, at least once. That can be done, right? So read all the chapters. Second thing is, try to attempt the long answers first, because you'll be running short of time. So what you can do is, try to attempt these long question answers that's going to fetch you more marks. What you can do is, you can attempt them first and then go on to the short question answers. If I talk about class 12th, yes, for novel, focus more on, I would say, these areas. For example, what's the plot of the novel, what's the theme, what is the, I would say, character sketch, right? These questions have been asked very often, right? So you have to focus on things like that when it comes to your novels, right? When it comes to questions like that. And like I told you, we've just discussed. Now, I want to tell you something about time management. See, guys, so everybody is asking, how much time should we devote on section A? How much time is to be devoted to section B? And what is the time that we are expected to devote onto section C? Right? So what I suggest is, out of the 3 hours that you've been assigned, right, you can devote 50 minutes each. Try to target 50 minutes, right? So you can devote 50 minutes to each section. This way you'll be getting 15 minutes for revision. And when you are sitting for your English exam, your revision is going to play a major role, because intentionally or unintentionally, while writing something, because you are so engaged and occupied with the content that you have to put it there, right? We tend to make mistakes, right? That's unintentional. And if we go on into, prefer to devote sometimes towards the end for revision, we're going to eliminate or correct or rectify the mistakes that we've made, right? And we don't want to give that opportunity to the teacher anyway, right? So this is that I wanted to tell you. Now it's time to tell you last thing, that's use black pen to write keywords, maintain proper spacing, underline the important points, and write headings with black pen and underline the subheadings, right? So, okay. Now, what the blockbuster tip is, please attempt at least 2 previous year question papers completely, following the time, right? If you have to cover it in 3 hours, do that, right? So this way you're going to get habitual, you're going to train your mind for the same, right? Now it's time to reveal the announcement that you guys been waiting for. Thank you for being so patient. The announcement is that, for, I would say, CBSE, we are offering a CBSE 10th board score improvement session, right? We're going to give you those session plus another thing that we are going to offer you is 2 year. In addition to this, you have a 2 year JEE long term course that we're going to offer you, right? So what is the news about this? The news is that the course price is really interesting. So the course price, if for the total package, is going to be 20,000. However, the lightning price, if you avail it right away without wasting any time, it is going to be just 1 lakh rupee, right? So talking about next is, I want to tell you about the course start date. So since there are two courses, right, and if you avail for one, you're going to get the other one, right? So the course detail for your score improvement, right? And start date for your long term JEE 2 years course program, where you're going to get an opportunity to, study from the best faculty across the world because they've delivered good ranks, right? So you just have to sit back at your place. You'll be saving a lot of money, traveling time, energy, right? And you'll be getting an opportunity to study from the best faculty across the country, right? So the score improvement class batch is going to start from 11th of February 2019, whereas the long-term course is going to start from 8th of April 2019. So that is all about the details, the announcement I wanted to make. So I wish you all, thank you so much for listening. So I wish you all the very best for your upcoming board exams. I hope you guys do really well in your exams, right? And I hope to see you in the upcoming sessions. Till then, take care, stay healthy, eat healthy. Bye, guys.